On behalf of the Department of Higher Education, Government of West Bengal, and the University Grants Commission, New Delhi, I extend a warm welcome to all of you on this one-day workshop on implementation of National Education Policy 2020 in higher education institutions of West Bengal. We are honored by the presence of the Honorable Minister in Charge, Higher Education Department, Government of West Bengal, Sri Jagannath Chattopadhyay, Professor N. Jagdish Kumar, former Chairman of University Grants Commission and one of the pioneers of implementing NEP in the country. We have with us distinguished resource persons, Professor Shashikala Vanjare. We have Dr. Avichal Kapoor, Joint Secretary of University Grants Commission. We have with us Dr. Ramanand of Center of Policy Research and Governance. I would request our team members to felicitate the dignitaries on stage, starting with our Honorable Minister in Charge, Sri Jagannath Chattopadhyay. We would request our team members to felicitate the dignitaries on dais. Professor Jagdish Kumar, Shri Vinod Kumar IAS, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of Higher Education, Government of West Bengal. Dr. Avichal Kapoor, Joint Secretary, University Grants Commission, New Delhi. Today's workshop has been convened to review the progress of National Education Policy 2020 implementation, learn from our national and institutional experiences, and identify a clear and practical way forward for the higher education institutions of West Bengal. May I now request the dignitaries on dais, our Honorable Minister in Charge, Sri Jagannath Chattopadhyay, to kindly proceed for the ceremonial lighting of the lamp, symbolizing illumination of knowledge, wisdom, and collective purpose. Honorable Minister in Charge is requested to kindly light the ceremonial lamp. Thank you, respected dignitaries. May I now request everyone to kindly rise for the national song Vande Mataram, followed by the national anthem. Thank you. Please be seated. To formally welcome this distinguished gathering and set the context of today's deliberations, it is my privilege to invite the Honorable Minister in Charge, Higher Education Department, Government of West Bengal, Shri Jagannath Chattopadhyay, to deliver his welcome address.
সকলকে নমস্কার। একটু আসতে দেরি হলো, হয়ে যাবে, ঠিক আছে। Respected Professor M. Jagdish Kumar, former Chairman, University Grant Commission, sir, we are honored that you have consented to advise us in implementation of NEP 2020 in our state. Dr. Avichal Raj Kapoor, Joint Secretary, University Grant Commission, Professor Alok Kumar Rai, Director, Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta, Professor Ravindra Kulkarni, Vice Chancellor, University of Mumbai, Professor Sashikala Vanjare, Vice Chancellor, National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, Dr. Ramanand, Director, Center for Policy Research and Governance. The CPRG will assist us in secretarial thing for implementation of NEP 2020. শ্রদ্ধেয় উপাচার্য মহাশয়রা এবং আরও যারা আপনারা বিভিন্ন বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ের প্রতিনিধি হয়ে আজকের এই কর্মশালায় উপস্থিত হয়েছেন, প্রত্যেককে সুপ্রভাত। It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to this important workshop on the implementation of National Education Policy 2020 in the Higher Education Institute of West Bengal. The National Education Policy 2020 marks a transformative moment in the history of Indian education. It is not merely a policy of restructuring courses, revising curricula or changing academic framework. It represents a fundamental shift in our understanding of education towards an education system that is holistic, multidisciplinary, flexible, inclusive, skill-oriented, technology-enabled, research-driven, and deeply rooted in Indian knowledge and values, while preparing our young people to confidently engage with the opportunities and challenges of the global era. The true measure of any transformative policy, however, is not the strength of the vision on paper, but the extent to which that vision becomes a lived reality for our students. Therefore, our responsibility today is to move beyond policy formulation and procedural compliances. The spirit of NEP 2020 must find expression in our classrooms, curricula, pedagogy, assessment system, research laboratories, campuses, and institutional governance. We must create an academic environment where students are not confined by rigid disciplinary boundaries, but are encouraged to explore, question, innovate, and learn across domains. Multidisciplinary education must enable a student of science to appreciate the humanities, a student of commerce to understand technology, and a student of humanities to engage with emerging areas of new knowledge. Equally important is the emphasis of NEP 2020 on skill development and employability. Our universities and colleges must ensure that education does not merely lead to the acquisition of degrees, but to the acquisition of capabilities. Students should graduate with knowledge, practical skill, critical thinking, communication abilities, and the confidence to navigate a rapidly changing world of work. This requires stronger integration of vocational education, internship, apprenticeship, industry exposure, entrepreneurship and emerging technologies into higher education. We must build an ecosystem in which our young people are not only prepared to seek employment but are also empowered to become innovators, entrepreneurs and creator of the opportunities. NEP 2020 also places research and innovations at the heart of the India's transformation into a knowledge society. Our higher education institution must therefore become centers for inquiry and discovery. We need to encourage interdisciplinary research, strengthen collaboration among institution and industry, promote innovation and create greater opportunities for our young researcher. For West Bengal, with the remarkable intellectual and cultural and academic heritage, this presents an extraordinary opportunity. Our state has historically contributed immensely to India's intellectual and cultural life. The implementation of NEP 2020 provides us with an opportunity to build upon that legacy while creating an education system equipped for the needs of the 21st century. At the same time, we must ensure that this transformation is inclusive and equitable. Quality higher education must not become the privilege of a few. Students from rural areas, economically disadvantaged backgrounds and different social contexts must have equitable access to the educational opportunities, digital resources, skill and research facilities. Technology can play an important role in achieving this objective. Digital learning, online resources, academic technology and modern teaching tools can expand access to knowledge. But technology must remain a means of strengthening education, not a substitute for the human relationship, but between teacher and learner. The success of NEP 2020 will ultimately depend upon our teachers, academic institution. Teachers are the principal architect of educational transformation. Therefore, continuous professional development, capacity building and opportunities for academic collaboration must remain an integral part of our implementation strategy. We must also recognize that every institution is different. Universities and colleges vary in their geographical location, student profile, infrastructure, resources and institutional capacity. NEP implementation, therefore, cannot be approached through a one-size-fits-all model. What we need is continuous dialogue, institutional ownership, sharing our best practices and capacity building, supported by close cooperation among the state government, the University Grant Commission and the higher education institution. These workshops assumes particular significance in this context. This discussion on skilling, quality in higher education, institutional best practices and different perspective on NEP implementation will provide us with valuable insights. I would urge every participants and participating institution to use this platform not merely to listen to experts, but also to share experience candidly, identify challenges and collectively develop practical solutions. Let us remember that our students are at the center of this entire transformation. Every reform we undertake, every curriculum we redesign, every technology we introduce, and every institutional mechanism we establish must ultimately answer one question: does it create better opportunities and better future for our students? Our objective must be to nurture young citizens who are knowledgeable yet compassionate, skilled yet creative, confident yet responsible, rooted in their heritage yet prepared for the world. If we succeed in doing this, the implementation of NEP 2020 will not merely transform our institution, it all transform the lives of our young people and strengthen the foundations of a developed and knowledge-driven India. I therefore call upon all higher education institutes of West Bengal to take ownership of this transformation. Let us move from policy to practice, from intention to implementation, and from implementation to measurable outcome. Outcome is the core of this NEP 2020. Let us work together to ensure that objectives of NEP 2020 are reflected not only in institutional documents and academic structures, but in the quality of the learning opportunities of the students, culture of the research, employability of the graduates, and overall educational experience we provide. The journey ahead is ambitious, but the opportunity before us is even greater. With collective commitment, institutional ownership, academic excellence, and a shared sense of purpose, I am confident that the West Bengal can make a meaningful contribution to the national vision of transformation India into a Bikoshito Bharat, a nation powered by knowledge, skill, innovation, and human capital. Though I only spoke about implementation of NEP 2020, for this objective we are today sitting here. But before implementation, we have to adapt it in our mind and institutionally. If we don't adapt NEP in our ecosystem, we can't be able to implement it. So before that, we are lagging far behind. So I would request the state resource person who will be taking this NEP implementation process to the colleges. First, you adopt the spirit of the NEP. And if you adopt it in letter and spirit, it will be easier for you to implement the implementation framework developed by the policy and will be guided by the expert who have come all the way from different parts of the country. I thank University Grant Commission and all other distinguished experts for joining hands with the government of West Bengal in this important endeavor. I once again warmly welcome all of you and wish this workshop every success. Thanks you. Bharat Mata ki jai. Bande Mataram.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiring words and also outlining the state's commitment to implementing National Education Policy 2020 in letter and spirit across all the higher education institutions of the state. The Minister of State, Dr. Hare Krishna Bera, has arrived and is with us on the dais. May I request our team members to felicitate Dr. Bera. Thank you. We shall now move towards the vision of the state's implementation journey, and I invite Azhar Zia, Joint Secretary of the Department of Higher Education, Government of West Bengal, to make a presentation on implementation of National Education Policy 2020 in higher education institutions of West Bengal.
Good morning and a very warm welcome to the honorable dignitaries seated on the dais, our vice chancellors, chancellors of private universities, faculty and registrars and colleagues. So the purpose of this brief presentation is to give you a brief overview of where as a state we stand on NEP implementation so far. What we have observed in the past few sessions that we have had on this topic is that NEP adoption has already begun across various universities and colleges in the state. However, this adoption is probably at a nascent stage, and even where it has been adopted, the implementation still requires some more refinement and further improvement. And that is why we are gathered here today, where we have our distinguished guests who will be enlightening us through their experiences as well as share their knowledge, giving us a roadmap for our future journey. So, to start off, before we talk about implementation of NEP, it is important to understand the scale at which our state operates. If we look at the numbers for our state, the numbers are quite staggering. We have nearly 25 lakh students across our higher education ecosystem, with nearly 78,000 faculty members, close to 1,600 colleges, and a large number of deemed universities as well as university level institutions, which are close to 60, of which 31 are state aided universities, whereas the others are mostly centrally funded institutions. Now, with this scale, we have to know that our implementation cannot be restricted to a few flagship universities. It has to be spread across the entire ecosystem, across various institutions. One of the features of our higher education ecosystem is its diversity. If you look at this slide, we have our legacy state public universities, some having existence since the British Raj. We have the more recent universities that have come up over the years. We have government and government aided colleges across the state, which provides geographical access. We have a very modernized technical and professional institution ecosystem, which is improving day by day. We have recently opened up several private universities in the state, and we also have open and distance learning education available in our state today. Now, the key question here is that while NEP provides the framework for implementation across the state, the path that each kind of institution will take will be different and suited to their own context. So the direction will be common, but every institution will have to tread its own path and find out their own roadmap for implementation of NEP. Now, I've compressed the pillars of NEP as given by UGC. They have 10 pillars. For this presentation, I have clustered them into 8 groups. The first is the academic transformation part, where a lot of our institutions are already doing well. Some of them have already introduced the 4-year undergraduate programs. The multidisciplinary aspect has already been present in many universities and colleges. The NCRF and multiple entry-exit frameworks are already in place in several institutions. We will see the spread of this implementation in the next slides. The second is the skills and employability, which takes a lot of relevance in this day and age. So in this, we have internships, we have the concept of AEDP, which I'll talk about, which will have the professors of practice, which is still at its nascent stage in adoption. The digital and flexible learning is the third pillar, which includes the ABC system, the Academic Bank of Credits, the APAR ID, which gives the identity layer, the National Academic Depository, as well as the SWAYAM and MOOC systems for massive online courses that our institutions are adopting very rapidly now. The fourth pillar is research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. This includes R&D cells, internships, patents, and industry linkage, which is a very critical area for our state institutions. Fifth is faculty and institutional capacity. No implementation of NEP can be complete without addressing the constraints that various institutions in our state face when it comes to faculty, as well as building institutional capacity is essential for implementing the NEP. Sixth is the quality, governance and autonomy. I have clubbed autonomy and governance with the quality aspect. So this includes accreditation, the national ranking framework, and various governance aspects of our institutions. The seventh includes equity, inclusion, languages, and the Indian knowledge system. So again, here I have clustered equity and inclusion because they, with languages and Indian knowledge system, because ultimately they are all rooted in the cultural ecosystem of our country. And the eighth is internationalization, where some universities are already doing this, joint programs, MOUs with foreign universities, and they're offering programs jointly. So this is also a collaborative ecosystem which we provision is there for taking it up with various international universities. Now this slide gives a brief overview of where we stand as far as the data in the Utsah portal of UGC is concerned. Now this is not a census or a comprehensive data set. It is basically only those institutions which have so far responded. So if we see the first few categories, the multidisciplinary degree programs, the 4-year undergraduate programs, multiple entry exit policy, courses in Indian languages, the national credit framework. So the number of institutions, which includes universities as well as colleges, are fairly on the higher side, whereas research internship, Indian knowledge system in the curriculum, multiple exit, national higher education qualitative framework, qualification framework, and these are being offered by some of them, whereas very few institutions are right now offering 2 degrees simultaneously, having biannual admission and joint degree with foreign HEIs. Now this is not probably the true picture of what is already happening. This is based on what UGC data shows, and I would encourage all institutions to kindly update their entries on the Utsah portal. I'm sure Dr. Kapoor will mention more in detail about these data sets in his session. We also have 32 professors of practice. Now, this is across only about 10 odd institutions. So mostly out of this 32, 29 are in 8 universities, including private ones, whereas 3 are in 2 private colleges. The implementation journey that we are at this juncture it's not merely about adoption. Now we have to move into implementing this and institutionalization of this implementation in the systems of our universities and colleges. The policy framework has already taken shape. It has already been given by the UGC and has been adopted by most colleges and universities. Now it's time to build up on the institutional systems to give effect to those policies and regulations. But our focus now has to be on the student experiences, whether these policies, whether these regulations are actually catering to the needs of the students. Is it visible in the ground level implementation, and are students benefiting from them? And we have to now move towards measurable outcomes in terms of employability, whether they are getting research access at an early stage, whether we are encouraging innovation, whether we are encouraging lifelong learning to these students. So the shift has to be from the first 2 blocks, which is the regulatory and policy frameworks, to the student experiences and outcomes. And that is why we have this workshop today, where our distinguished luminaries will show us how we can make that transition. One of the major areas where implementation gaps have been found is the skills and employability area. We already have skill enhancement courses in various curricula of universities. We do have internship arrangements in various institutions of varying durations and various credit frameworks. We have professors of practice in a limited number of institutions. There are industry linkages, particularly in professional institutions, and research internships have also been reported. However, we still feel, based on the data that we have and the feedback that we have received in the previous workshops that we have conducted, that the industry-academia linkage still is not in a partnership or a collaborative mode. It's more oriented towards recruitment, but if we have to really move towards a synergistic relationship with industry, we have to partner with them to design our curriculum accordingly. If we have to bring in AEDP, which is the apprenticeship embedded programs, we have to partner with industry and cater to their needs through our curriculum, through our teaching system, and devise intelligent assessment mechanisms. And that is where we have found that a lot of our institutions are finding it difficult, and we would like to hear from our distinguished guests on how we can bring this into practice. The internship frameworks as well as the apprenticeships that we have, they vary vastly across institutions, and some are as short as a 15-day internship program, whereas some have 6-month long. So this uneven distribution of this pillar leads to uneven outcomes as well. So we need to look into that aspect and try to have a more uniform framework and give ideas to the institutions how they can embed this in the curriculum so that it can be implemented with consistency and lead to better employment outcomes. The digital and credit mobility is a very important aspect, and it underlies everything that NEP is all about. This is the basic framework, because without this digital ecosystem, it is difficult to monitor and assess how we are progressing on the NEP framework. So, whereas the ABC system provides the credit accumulation and transfer architecture, the APAR provides the identity layer for the student. The NAD provides the digital academic records repository, whereas the SWAYAM and MOOCs, these portals, the online courses today, form the flexible learning pathway for our students. But we need to understand that this implementation is still uneven across institutions. Many institutions in West Bengal today do not even have an integrated digital ecosystem. These facilitative mechanisms can only help if we are able to integrate them with our LMSs. But we are right now lacking because some institutions don't even have a learning management system where these can be integrated. At the same time, we have to ask the question that this credit accumulation and transfer architecture, how is it really being implemented on ground? Are students truly being able to transfer their credits? Are they able to move between courses? Is this being used enough? These are the questions we need to ask. We have some examples of the scale at which we have already started operating. Our largest technical university is the Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology. They have already recorded close to 30 lakh records uploaded on the system. We have North Bengal University with close to 14 lakh records uploaded. Calcutta University has close to 7 lakh. So these are just illustrative examples, but there are also various institutions which are yet to do that. And I think the sooner we start with this and sooner we implement this in true spirit, I think our students will benefit. Now, we had a workshop as a sensitization, and many of us here, our faculty, our vice chancellors were present in the previous workshop. And this is a summary of what we found during that workshop. What we found was that NEP has been adopted, but as I have mentioned again and again, the implementation varies in depth as well as in breadth. So some institutions have adopted it very well and gone deep into it. Some are just scratching the surface. So apart from that, the employment and skill orientation, that alignment with the curriculum is somewhere lacking in most of the institutions that we found. Institutional capacity, particularly in our state-aided institutions, has been found to be a big gap, and that is something that we need to work upon. A lot of these issues related to faculty and infrastructure constraints predate the NEP, but without resolving those, we cannot move forward, and that is something that the government and the department is committed to resolving very soon. Apart from this, we have seen that the enabling ecosystem, that digital integration, industry linkages, as well as the research and innovation culture. This is where I think that our focus needs to be, and most institutions are looking for ideas and practical implementation frameworks which they can adopt in their own institutions, and this is where guidance is required at this moment. So while adoption is visible, I would say the enabling conditions that and the consistency and depth of implementation is now where we need to shift our focus to. So the real implementation gap, that is the NEP principles that have been outlined, how do we convert them into practical implementation frameworks at the ground level so that the outcomes are visible? So whereas multidisciplinary programs are being offered by various universities and colleges, we need to really ask that are students being allowed to genuinely choose across different disciplines? Can an engineering graduate today choose a history or a geography course if they are so interested? The multiple entry exit model also, we need to see that we do have the digital ecosystem, but can students really accumulate, redeem and transfer credits? Is it being allowed by various universities? Can a student shift from university A to university B without having to repeat his years? So these are things we need to understand. Will recruiters and industry, give importance to these credit structures and frameworks? So that is where we need to also sensitize them. Similarly, the NCRF and NHEQF frameworks, in the previous workshops, we found that several places the understanding related to these is still lacking, and we need to really improve our understanding so that we can implement it in earnest. Skilling. Whereas skilling is concerned, is it just something of a routine mechanism that needs to be done to, which we are offering to students who just pass their exams, or is it really employment-worthy skills that we are imparting to our students? As far as internship is concerned, are we providing internships which are giving them practical skills so that they can use it in the real world, in real world jobs, or is it just something that is part of the curriculum and done in a matter-of-fact manner without really learning any skills? Is industry a partner in our curriculum delivery, or are they just there for, at the end stage for recruitment purposes? Research, are students being exposed to the best of research? Are we providing the pathway for them to enter into good research and then translate the research into maybe patents, startups, and further innovation? And the digital systems that we have, which in many cases is fairly rudimentary, are they even talking to each other? Are the ABC, the APAR ID, the NAD and MOOC system being integrated into our LMSs? This is where we need to identify and resolve these gaps. So I have already spoken about these points. So we need to now move from adoption to transformation. West Bengal today needs a shared implementation agenda for NEP so that our systems are interoperable, our digital systems are integrated, and we move from simply a policy framework to an outcome-oriented framework so that the results are visible both in our student community as well as the industry and research ecosystem that we have. And that is basically the purpose of today's workshop, that we move from simply a status report to an actionable implementation roadmap for West Bengal. And our distinguished guests present here, we would hope that they would throw light on this and help all of us to achieve 100% implementation of NEP in our institutions so that we can accelerate and our higher education institutions can duly contribute to Viksit Bharat 2047. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that focused presentation, which has placed before us the progress achieved, the institutional initiatives which are underway, and the areas that require further coordinated action. It is now my privilege to invite Professor M. Jagdish Kumar, former chairman of the University Grants Commission and one of the pioneers of implementing National Education Policy 2020 in the country, to deliver his inaugural address. A huge round of applause as he takes the stage.
Shri Jagannath Chattopadhyay ji, distinguished colleagues from the government, vice chancellors, principals, faculty members, and distinguished invitees, my namaskars to all of you. After listening to Honorable Minister of Higher Education and the summary presentation on the status of NEP implementation in West Bengal, I warmly appreciate the deep commitment shown by the West Bengal government for the implementation of NEP 2020. This is a momentous occasion for all of us, the government, the universities, colleges, and the local enterprises, to work towards realizing a shared objective. And that objective is to provide an education to every young person in this state, which is intellectually stimulating, which is socially relevant, and connects to the changing opportunities that are coming in the future. West Bengal is no stranger to academic reforms. The national education policy provides a broad national vision for all of us to follow, but the real strength of NEP 2020 is realized through local imagination. As I said, West Bengal has carried out many reforms earlier. In fact, the origins of Presidency University, it goes back to the Hindu College, which was established in 1817. And the Calcutta University was established in 1857. The Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science was established in 1876. It is here that C.V. Raman made his Nobel Prize winning discovery in physics. And in 1921, Vishwabharati was established. Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore followed the pre-colonial education system based on Tapovan, freedom, nature, integration of art and craft, the Guru Shishya Parampara. These were the strengths of our educational system. And in 1931, the ISI was established. The first ever IIT after independence was established in West Bengal. I was fortunate to start my first teaching career after I came back from Canada at IIT Kharagpur. The first ever Indian Institute of Management was established in Calcutta. Friends, West Bengal has a rich history of academic contributions. Even if you see the intellectual contributions coming out of West Bengal, each one of us as an Indian, we are proud of these achievements. J.C. Bose combined physics with plant sciences. P.C. Ray connected chemistry to enterprise and social good. S.N. Bose helped us gain deeper insights into quantum physics. Mahalana Binis established ISI, and then Meghnad Saha, he connected the scientific discoveries to national development. B.C. Rai, he connected medicine to public service and building of institutions. West Bengal, as the data showed, has nearly 25 lakh students in higher education, close to about 60 universities and about 1600 colleges. But behind these figures lies the dreams of millions of youngsters in this state. It could be a first generation student from Darjeeling Hills or Sundarbans. It could be a science student from Calcutta, a commerce student from Siliguri, an artist from Shantiniketan, an aspiring entrepreneur from Howrah, or a research scholar from Kalyani. All these youngsters, they have diverse ambitions. Somebody may like to get a secure job. Others may like to get into research careers or public service. Somebody may want to establish a startup company or join in a family business or start a social enterprise, create jobs instead of searching for a job. When our youngsters have these diverse aspirations as educational institutions, how do we ensure that we work towards fulfilling these aspirations? And that is possible only when we reform the education that is being offered in our educational institutions, so that our students will not only get domain knowledge, but they will have practical experience, problem solving capabilities, good communication skills, ability to work in teams, most of all, become a good human being. That is the reason why our higher educational institutions are social institutions. They are meant to do social good. When we provide high quality education on a large scale to our youngsters, the average competency levels in the society will go up. When the average competency levels goes up, the productivity levels will go up. Our economy will become stronger. Then we will be able to put more funds into public education, reach out to more youngsters, and you can see one activity feeds the other, making our country stronger and stronger. In order to bring these reforms, UGC has already brought out the architectural framework. When we talk about implementing NEP 2020, it consists of two things. One is the structural reforms that we need to bring in our educational system. Two, focus on the real spirit of NEP 2020. The real spirit ultimately is to make sure that our education is connected to our Indian roots, our Indian civilization, our Indian culture, while making it of global standards to address the contemporary challenges not only our country but the entire humanity faces. So therefore, my dear friends, the role that you play as educational institutions, as teachers, as heads of institutions, is nation building. It's a very, very serious activity that all of us carry out. Now, when you look at the structural reforms that we need to bring out, whether it is national credit framework, national higher education qualification framework, bringing in all the students on the academic bank of credits and making sure that every academic document of the students is uploaded on the DigiLocker and linked to the ABC, making sure that our students have enough opportunities for research internships, for industry internships, ensuring that they not only gain theoretical knowledge, but they also gain enough practical knowledge, making sure that all the educational institutions provide the minimum quality of education. Of course, you can go higher and higher, but we must ensure that each and every college and university in the state undergoes the accreditation process. We are working on reforming the accreditation process, the basic accreditation and the maturity-based graded level accreditation will soon be launched. I request all of you to please come forward and go through this accreditation process. Ensure that you step out of your campuses, meet the industry representatives, and build better collaborations with the industry. The West Bengal Industrial Development Corporation has identified many emerging areas. Our degrees should be designed to meet the skill requirement in many of these areas, be it the modern agriculture, food processing, fisheries, horticulture, manufacturing, MSME, IT related services, tea, tourism. There are many areas. If we simply become degree granting factories, if the students come out without the required skills and competencies, it's not going to serve the cause of our nation. So you must make sure that you step out, meet the industry representatives, the industries in the respective areas. And as I said, Professor of Practice is one of the pathways to get in touch with the industry. Across the country, there are thousands of professors of practice that are being appointed even in ordinary colleges. You should also make sure that more colleges become autonomous. When they become autonomous, they will have enough freedom to innovate and to design their programs. When UGC gives autonomy to the universities based on the trust, you should also trust your colleges and give sufficient autonomy to them. And NEP also says that if there are many colleges focused on individual disciplines, you can actually come together and form a degree awarding institution. You may be geographically distributed, but you can still become a university. UGC has already brought out the guidelines for this to make a possibility. As the Honorable Minister has mentioned, our teachers are the building blocks of our educational institutions. You need to remain a lifelong learner. The Malaviya Mission Teacher Training Program was launched a few years ago. We have about 16 lakh teachers in higher education. We are able to reach about 4.5 lakh teachers so far. I think every teacher in your colleges and universities, please come forward and join these teacher training programs. There are many things that need to be implemented, but however, we all know that institutions have different capabilities. So therefore, we don't say one fits all kind of model works. We also need to see those institutions which are capable may start a 4-year undergraduate program. Those institutions which have enough multidisciplinary knowledge and teaching resources within an institution, they may design the multidisciplinary programs. Every university can set their own institutional development plan. UGC has very good guidelines on how to design these institutional development plans. You need to plan where you would like to be in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years. So we will be working, UGC and my office, which is the Committee for the Implementation of NEP 2020 in Ministry of Education. We will closely work with you and the West Bengal government and set up short-term plans, mid-term plans and long-term plans and ensure that NEP 2020 is implemented rapidly. Also please remember that the implementation of NEP 2020 is not some compliance thing to tick, I have done this, I have done this, I have done this. The implementation of NEP 2020 is a marathon. And that's the reason why NEP 2020 has given us some milestones to achieve. Sometimes it is not very unusual for me to hear when some colleagues come and tell me saying that, sir, we have already implemented NEP 2020. There is nothing like already implementing NEP 2020. The real effect of implementing the various reforms that are coming out of NEP 2020 should be seen on the ground. Only then the objectives are fulfilled. The students who are passing out of our institutions, are they coming out confidently with the skills and the competencies that are required to have? Do they have multidisciplinary knowledge? Do they have depth of knowledge? Do they have the ability to work in teams? Are they creative enough? Can they solve problems? These are the things that we need to see. Ultimately, ethics and values play an important role in our life. Therefore, are you imparting the human values that are required to make, to train the complete person, not just only the academics? These are the objectives that we have set up for ourselves as a nation, and ultimately, all of us, we must have the intellectual courage, the objective to build institutions and education as a service to the society. When we do this, it will be a very valid contribution to building our Vikasit Bharat. Jai Hind and Namaskar.
Thank you very much, sir, for that insightful address. Very truly, as you have mentioned, that our academic institutions are basically social institutions, and what we deliver is a social good, more specifically a merit good, which is education. We believe that your guidance will give us the energy as well as the perspective to take NEP forward and see it to the ground. Thank you, sir. May I now request our Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Hare Krishna Bera, to give his address and formally close the inaugural session. Dr. Bera, please.
নমস্কার। উপস্থিত সবাইকে আমার আন্তরিক শুভেচ্ছা। রেসপেক্টেড এমআইসি জগন্নাথ চ্যাটার্জি মহাশয়, হায়ার এডুকেশন, টেকনিক্যাল অ্যান্ড ভোকেশনাল এডুকেশন অ্যান্ড স্কিল ডেভেলপমেন্ট, respected dignitaries, distinguished guests, vice chancellors, principals, faculty members, educationists, and dear participants. A very warm welcome to everyone present here. It is a matter of great pleasure and privilege to be with you today for this important program on the National Education Policy 2020, particularly its implementation in our colleges and universities. NEP 2020 marks a significant step towards transforming higher education in India. It envisions an education system that is holistic, multidisciplinary, flexible, inclusive, skill-oriented, and focused on learning outcomes. The policy seeks to move beyond traditional boundaries and prepare our young people to face the opportunities and challenges of the 21st century. For colleges and universities, the policy brings a renewed emphasis on multidisciplinary education, academic flexibility, research and innovation, vocational and skill development, technology-enabled learning and greater autonomy. It also places the learner at the center of the educational process. However, The success of any policy depends not only on its vision, but on its effective implementation. Universities and colleges have a crucial role to play in transplanting the principles of NEP 2020 into meaningful experiences for students. This requires committed leadership, empowered faculty, modern infrastructure, effective academic planning, and continuous professional development. Today's program provides an excellent opportunity for us to understand the policy in greater depth, exchange ideas, discuss challenges, and explore practical strategy for implementation. I am confident that the deliberation during the program will help us move from policy to practice. Our ultimate objective must be to create institutions where students are encouraged not merely to earn degrees, but to think independently, innovate, develop skill, uphold values, and contribute meaningfully to society and the nation. Let us therefore approach this program with an open mind and a spirit of collaboration. Together we can make higher education more responsive, inclusive, innovative, and future ready. With these words, I extend my best wishes for the success of this program and warmly welcome all the distinguished participants. Thank you. Bande Mataram.
Thank you, sir. This concludes the mic is not working, but yeah. So this concludes the inaugural session. We are running a little late, so we will just take a break of 10 minutes. Tea is served outside. So please have tea and strictly come back within 10 minutes so that we can start our technical sessions on time. Thank you.